that special time of year when the ghost moans come in clear. They echo through the hollers and the lakes and land around here. They whirl out from the cemeteries that the ghosts all call their home. And all throughout the watershed, and oh, how those moans drone. If you listen close, you'll hear them. When you're lying in your bed, you'll pull your blankets up too near your ears, and your eyes will fill with dread. And your mind will be wild with wondering, and your heart will be filled with fear. Because Halloween's a frightening time, so let's press rewind and look at some of the scariest mushrooms of the year.
Hi there, friends. Are you ready to see your first frightening fungus? This one's particularly dark and creepy. Warlock's butter. It's a blob. It's a blob. This is a type of jelly fungus in the genus Exidia. It can appear during the cooler months of the year in the temperate areas of the world. It forms one connected mass of little fused round nodules. Can be confused with other jelly fungus like the equally scary amber jelly roll. These are all technically edible fungi if you're brave enough to try them. Extremely frightening. Are you ready for another scary fungus? There's one right up here. On the remains of this white oak tree. This is Globophomys graveolens. It's a glob from the grave. It looks kind of like the head of one of those mushroom zombie monsters from The Last of Us. It's completely horrifying. This is a woody perennial fungus that you can find growing on oaks and beaches. Primarily, you can find it any time of the year, but its peak frequency is right around All Hallows Eve in October. These are found in the eastern United States, and it is a white rot fungus existing off the mortal remains of deciduous hardwoods. Graveolens does refer to its fragrant nature. When it's first emerging, it will be kind of a tan or bone color and will be sweet and pungent. Hence the name, the sweet knot fungus. Another horrifying fungus you can find if you're not too scared. There's another really frightening fungus over here. Okay, there they are. Do you see them? It's the devil's urn. There's 3 devil's urns here. Look into the fertile surface. You may see your own haunted dreams. These are some of the first mushrooms to emerge in the spring. These primarily grow on buried oak wood. Why are they so deeply dark? Probably to absorb the sun's rays and warm themselves to facilitate their growth. And it spreads its spores by means of raindrops plopping into the cups and shooting up the spores into the air. The devil's urn. Let's see what else is out there waiting for us.
Oh, that was a very frightening fungus. I can see you're shivering in your boots. Would you like to switch up? Maybe look at a plant? Plants aren't scary, are they? Or maybe they are.
In the early 1800s, as settlers moved west into the frontier, what is now called the Midwest, they were afflicted by a mysterious and deadly illness, killing thousands. and poisoning many, many more. Was this a result of witchcraft, or perhaps a miasma of poison air seeping up from the earth? No, it was the result of this plant, the white snakeroot. This is the source of the epidemic, poisoning the milk and meat of livestock foraging in the woods out in the frontier, as this was a rural problem and there were no forensic medical botanists around, barely even any doctors. It took a long time for this mystery to be solved and was not fully understood until 1920. But this would cause a sickness called the trembles in animals and people. It's also called the slows and the staggers and puking complaint based on its symptoms. As people became more familiar with the cause of the illness, it became known by a different name, milk sickness, devastating entire families, wiping out communities, whole settlements being abandoned. Case in point, Nancy Hanks Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln's mother dying at just 35 years old as a result of cows eating this plant and her drinking the milk. Truly horrifying. As you can see, the Thomas Lincoln farm is completely abandoned. No one lives here anymore. A very scary plant, the white snakeroot. Although it is an important plant, it being one of the last flowers to bloom in the fall, it's important food for pollinators, so not one you really need to worry about unless you're keeping livestock out in the woods. This grows in shady areas along the edges of the woodlands. A beautiful and deadly plant you can find in the forests of the Midwest. Well, you've made it this far. How very brave of you. But our next mushroom is the scariest one yet. A confirmed killer. A beautiful, murderous. I'm talking about the destroying angel. One of the deadliest mushrooms on earth. Known for its pristine white cap and stem, its long, ghostly annulus hanging down like the skirt of an evil angel. This mushroom contains a toxin, alpha-amanitin, an ammotoxin that will shut down your organs, inhibit your protein synthesis, and send you to the grave. Look closely, if you dare, at the beautiful and murderous Amanita bisporigera, the Eastern North American destroying angel. A beautiful, seductress, luring unscrupulous foragers to eat her pale white flesh. Even half a cap of this mushroom is enough to kill a person. Never mess around with a big white mushroom. Why are these deadly mushrooms growing right here? Perhaps it's because of the unspeakable act of self-harm committed by the young widowed bride on this very spot 100 years ago tonight. Or maybe it's because these mushrooms can be found all over Eastern North America and even down in Mexico. It's a pretty common mushroom. They grow among the oaks in mature forests. So keep an eye out for a very, very, very scary mushroom, the destroying angel. All right, let's see what's next. There's a creepy cabin in the woods over here. Look at this place. Here's a Halloween favorite, the skull-shaped puffball, or the brain puffball, Calvatia craniformis. Called the skull-shaped puffball because of the tapered base. These can get quite large, as big as your head, even. Also called the brain puffball because the top can get kind of tan and pinkish and wrinkly as it matures, unlike the giant puffball, which will never have a stem. Giant puffballs will be largely smooth and white until they get really mature. Then they can get kind of a brownish gray color and develop some texture, but never the pronounced wrinkles that the skull-shaped puffball has. But both of those mushrooms are edible. This is an edible mushroom if the interior flesh is white. And you can find this mushroom all over the world, almost any month of the year, but its peak frequency is in October. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. It wouldn't be a Halloween special if I didn't mention the Halloweeniest mushroom of them all, the jack-o'-lantern mushroom. This is a bright pumpkin orange mushroom that is bioluminescent and glows in the dark, and it is also very, very poisonous. There are many kinds of jack-o'-lantern mushrooms all over the world. We have the European jack-o'-lantern, the Eastern American jack-o'-lantern, the Western jack-o'-lantern, the Southern jack-o'-lantern, and the ghost fungus. The jack-o'-lantern will always be growing on or near decomposing wood. I find them often around the base of old oak stumps. This is a poisonous mushroom that poisons people who confuse it with the edible and delicious chanterelle mushroom. To the uninitiated, they can look quite similar, but these are two very different mushrooms. The easiest way to tell them apart is to tear the stem in half. The jack-o'-lantern will be kind of a pale yellow color inside, and the chanterelle will always be white. Once you become familiar with both these mushrooms, they'll be easy to tell apart, although I did find this one jack-o'-lantern this year that was not in a dense cluster. It was far away from the woody stump that it was growing off of, very similar to a chanterelle, so I can see how people get these confused. It's not known to kill people, but while you're in the throes of severe gastrointestinal distress, you might wish you were dead. Happy Halloween, everyone.
I'll see you next time on Mushroom Journeys.